Hi everybody, welcome to Daily Deco. It is Tuesday, so we're just coming up with our sort of update on basically things that interested me over the weekend to do with underwater stuff and scuba diving, obviously. So first of all, I have to say that today's episode of Daily Deco is sponsored by our very own Teespring store. I'm not actually wearing one of our Teespring shirts.
Get out!
I'm just wearing my big sloggy jumper to keep me nice and warm in the sort of autumn winter time. But more about Teesprings later. So as far as updates from Simply Scuba side of things, we've got a few brands that are sort of populating onto the website. The big ones are Ammonite, Analox, DIR Zone, and Dive Pro. We've also got some XS Scuba, so they're coming sort of back into stock. So if you were sort of interested in those big brands, then head over. And the only other thing is on Sunday, I released this, or you released this video all about sort of scuba diving cylinders.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me. That did very well. That's very much like a deep dive into everything scuba diving cylinders.
Yeah, I really loved editing that one, Mark. Thanks for that.
Yeah, that was a long video. It's not for casual viewing, but if you want to know a little bit more about scuba diving cylinders or tanks, then head over to that. And also the social risks of scuba diving that went up live on Saturday, the Saturday Surface Interval. So yeah, head over to the YouTube page, the YouTube channel. And check that out because that's just a bit of fun, something that I wrote. And yeah, I mean, let's be honest. How many of you have a sort of underwater selfie as your sort of profile picture? I'll wager it's quite a few of you guys and girls.
I don't.
No, you don't. You're probably like hiking. You've probably got like a Helly Hansen or something.
Helly Hands. No, I've got my cool jacket. A cool picture of me wearing my lovely red Rab soft shell jacket.
Okay, not
with my
North
grey
Face.
beanie. No.
Or sorry, the North Face.
The North Face. You're going to get copyrighted for that now. That's it. No sponsor on this video. No money on this video because you mentioned that word. No.
Now we can add the hashtags now. But yeah, if we jump, let's jump straight into the actual news. So the first one comes from what are they called again? Scubanomics. So this article came up from Scubanomics, and they look at the economics of scuba diving. And basically, Scuba Pro's sort of financial sort of listings were released for the first half of 2020 because they're a publicly traded company, so they have to release all of their like tax returns and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we got a pretty good look into sort of what's happened, and Scuba Pro is a pretty good sort of basis or sort of like example for the industry because they're one of the head runners, the real sort of big scuba diving brands, and they didn't do particularly well for the first sort of 2 quarters, like sort of annual quarters, not financial quarters because they do it slightly differently, but like January to sort of June, July. Scuba Pro didn't do very well, which is quite bad for the rest of the industry because I imagine everyone else is feeling sort of pretty much the same. I mean, we knew that it was bad for sort of a lot of the industry, mainly for like the tourism sectors. But we were kind of hoping that people were still kind of at home, still like sort of buying the equipment and sort of replacing stuff. But it seems not at all, and it doesn't bode well for the rest of the year. Yeah,
it's a worrying thing. Yeah, as I say, it's nice to have this example. But yeah, if Scuba Pro are feeling the pinch, should we say, you know that bigger brands are gonna, all brands that are equal to that sort of size are feeling the pinch. But then also, I think pretty much every scuba diving brand, because who's going to be buying scuba stuff? Let's be honest.
I bought a couple bits and bobs.
You probably bought bolt snaps, you weirdo.
No. The one thing that I didn't buy is a bolt snap. No. I did go through my stuff and I was like, oh, I could do with a new one of those, or I could do with such and such.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did buy a few bits and bobs, but but clearly not many people sort of did. So for the first quarter, January to March, they actually saw a loss of 29% compared to their 2019 figures, and the 2019 figures, I can't imagine were that amazing neither, because I mean, year on year, it's always been sort of declining, but then that was like the initial, the kind of the question period of COVID-19, where people were kind of aware of it but didn't realize quite how serious it was. But then April to June, it just decimated. So they so the profit was down 47.2%. But to put that into sort of proper numbers, they actually ran operating losses of 3.4 million United States dollars. So yeah, that hurt. And granted, they're owned by Johnson Outdoors, who do all sorts of other sort of brands. So hopefully one of those brands sort of did okay enough to sort of cover this. But yeah, it's rough. Obviously, we don't know. Yeah, obviously we don't know what's going to happen sort of going forwards, but yeah, it's going to hurt. And the other problem is that even if we have like a bad summer in the scuba diving industry, you can often kind of rely on like the winter trade, where people go off on sort of holiday, or they're sort of buying dive equipment, but people aren't going on holiday. You can't. So yeah, it's really hurting. So we don't really know what it's going to look like to this time next year. There could be some very interesting, not necessarily good, but interesting changes. Yeah, and to see it from a big company like Scuba Pro, yeah, is a little worrying.
Yeah, probably what will end up happening is a very similar story to potentially what happened to us. You'll get bigger brands buying smaller brands, or there'll be like a conglomerate. So yeah, where there's a couple of not necessarily failing businesses, but businesses that have taken a hit because of COVID-19, they might join forces, and then yeah, then there'll be like a I don't know.
That would be interesting. Yeah.
Something like that, I reckon, will happen. Not guaranteed, because no one knows what on earth is going to happen. You know, like you say, because they're a part of Johnson Outdoors. You know, some of their if they have like a hunting section, or God knows what they've got their fingers in many pies in there, that could be doing really, really well. So then that will compensate, obviously, the loss of what's happened on Scuba. But there are several other brands out there that don't have that luxury of being attached. That's the thing, being attached to different businesses or different business models is either a really good thing, because as I say, you can dip into that, or it's a really bad thing because everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
Very similar to how we
complement one another. Yeah.
Like where we are right now with our new company, there's enough variancy in what we do and what we own that we're laughing, basically. Touch wood. Touch wood that everything's works out that way. But yeah, as I say, you've got to have that fine line. But yeah, I reckon it'll be maybe a couple of brands will either join forces, or you'll just get an investor and they'll go, I'll buy that, because it's going cheap. And then yeah, you might have it where the same company that owns Scuba Pro might own, I don't know, Apex or X Deep or something like that. It could possibly happen. Yeah,
that would be interesting, because normally it's Scuba Pro, because Scuba Pro bought sort of Seaman Sub and Sub Gear, and then sort of turned their ranges into Scuba Pro. But now it's kind of or it might be the other way. Oh, who knows?
Exactly. Well, they might sell off. They might sell off those brands.
I doubt they'd be worth anything now. They've been off the market for so long. I don't think anyone's particularly looking for Seaman Sub or Sub Gear. Yeah, you Google that all the time, do you?
You knows it. Yeah, no, it sucks, and as I say, it gives a little, does give a little insight to what's happening in the community. But again, any sport, any business, this sort of thing's happening. No one's really at a proper profit, are they? At the end, or unless you're Amazon, or if you
Amazon have done pretty well.
Yeah, or your business structure is very similar to Amazon. Just like the company that we work for now, their business model is very similar to Amazon, which is good.
Yeah.
So
the next news story hit kind of home. So basically, the way I like research news, I do a bit of sort of active stuff where I just kind of search for things, see if anything interesting's happened. But then I also have some like automated alerts that just sort of ping to my email every now and then, and this one comes from the East Anglian Daily Times, which is where I grew up in East Anglia. So I thought, oh, this would be interesting. And then, as soon as you open up a web page and you see a picture, a photo of someone that you know, for me, unfortunately, every time I seem to do that, it's either because someone's been arrested, or it's basically bad news. I've known a surprising number of people who've been arrested for like pinching stuff from shipwrecks, and have been caught. Not myself, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah, you just haven't been caught, so.
Yeah, it's only illegal if you get caught, right? No, I've never done anything like that. I was
going to say, yeah.
But yeah, so this is actually one of my friends, Dave, and he. Sort of during lockdown had sort of built and sort of planned his own sort of dive centre, sort of going off on his own. It's called the Beyond One Bar, and yeah, he had this sort of big plan of a like grand opening on when was it? It was literally the day of the UK lockdown.
Pretty sure it's the 5th.
Sort of last Thursday. So I mean, you can see on their like sort of Facebook page how they're like building it up, and they were like, oh yeah, it's all going to be like a grand opening to open up my brand new dive centre. It's all very exciting, so that everything's going sort of all well and planned. And then the weekend beforehand, that's when the British government basically said, no, we're going on to sort of lockdown on this day, and yeah, this just seems to be the reoccurring story of sort of COVID. And yeah, no, just all right. Yeah, everything sort of looks sort of really neat. And he's got this sort of shop front, sort of big banner out front. Everything looks great. He's got sort of stock in stock, and no, he couldn't open because it's not an essential business. So just terrible news. But
sucks, COVID sucks.
Yeah, send him some love on social media and everything.
Yeah, we'll put the links to I'll put them all down below.
Yeah. Head over to the Facebook and just say, oh yeah, sort of good luck for the future, and sort of after second lockdown, hopefully things will turn around. And yeah, because we need these dive centres, because if they're not like training and if they're not giving us air fills, then that's kind of it. We do still need some bricks and mortar dive centres, and yeah, just somewhere that you can pop in for a coffee and just chat about wreck diving or something.
So beyondonebar.com is website. That's his website, so obviously go visit that. Does it have a storefront? Is he able to sell stuff?
I think so.
Because while Mark sorts that out, obviously there was a video a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, I pinned it up there, where we said support your local dive centre. It is vitally important that you do so, no matter where you are in the world. We cannot afford these types of businesses to go under, because that's the bread and butter of scuba diving. That's the heart and soul. That's how people get into. Fair enough. Yeah, you might get into scuba diving through channels like this, or Divers Ready, or Scubaverse, or Alec Pierce, or you go to the forums and stuff, but you don't fall in love with the sport until you actually physically meet someone. You have a proper face-to-face conversation. You find their passion in scuba diving, and you're only going to find that in a store like this. It's so important to have that. So again, obviously, if you're in the UK right now, tell us who your favourite store is in the comments below. Obviously, it's lockdown part 2 at the moment, so everything's shut up, but they got a website. Link it down below. Obviously, it will be blocked at first, but as long as it's not a dodgy website, myself and Mark will give the okay, so then their link is in the description to give them traffic. Even if they don't have a store, if their website runs ads, like I said in the previous video, click on the ads. It helps them out. Granted, it's not going to help out millions, but it's better than nothing. You know, so yeah, we all just need to band together and get that. And anyway, Mark, does he have a retail site on the website?
Yes.
There we go. So beyondonebar.com, and then go and buy some stuff. Yeah. Help Dave out.
Yeah, that's it. Help them out. They got sort of own brand T-shirts, but they got some Maras and Tusa bits and bobs. So yeah, if you do need sort of new something or other, then yeah, sort of hit them up, because they put up a post that basically said that during lockdown, of course we can't open the front door, but we can still sell dive equipment, sort of mail order, as it were. So yeah, you can still support them, even though their doors aren't particularly open.
Awesome.
So moving on to today's sponsor message. So today's episode of Daily Deco is brought to you by our very own Teespring store. So once you're out of the water, it can be hard to spot a fellow scuba diver because we look like every other person. But no more, obviously. Our very own Teespring store stocks scuba diving t-shirts, hoodies, phone cases, stickers, and even face masks. We have our own sort of face masks now, which is quite cool. It's like a diver down mask with the little scuba dude sort of in one corner. And right now we're actually offering a 15% off all of our merchandise if you just use the promo code Daily Deco at checkout. So that's 15% off when you add the promo code Daily Deco, all one word, at the checkout. That way you can stand out of the diving crowd, sort of thanks to our Teesprings store with all sorts of scuba diving designs and funky stuff. And yeah, of course, a Scuba Dude logo t-shirt.
For the win, mate, for the win.
Yeah, that's it. It's nice to get a diving t-shirt. So continuing on with the news, so the Spanish Navy's newest project is a submarine rescue ship to protect underwater treasure. So basically, as I kind of mentioned earlier unintentionally, some of my friends, I say friends, acquaintances, I've met them in the past. I know their names. Shh. They've, basically scuba diving. A good few years ago, it was a little bit more piratey, and just a few scuba divers had some sticky fingers. So if they saw something interesting, they just kind of yoink it. But actually, now the Spanish Navy currently has a, or it seems that they're working on a rescue submarine to try and sort of prevent people from sort of pilfering shipwrecks, as far as I understand.
Cool. So that Thunderbird 4?
Yeah, if that's the number. I can only remember.
The yellow one. I think it's 4.
Oh yeah, because one was the aeroplane, 2 was the big green one, 3 was the space rocket.
Yeah, the
and
red
then 4.
one.
Yeah. So this new sort of one, it's able to be sort of remain fixed at a certain point of the ocean, regardless of how sort of deep the seabed is or how sort of rough the ocean is. It has this like dynamic positioning system, so it stays exactly where you want it to be. And yeah, it's got everything from side scan radar. It's got 2 hyperbaric chambers. You have 2 sort of ROVs in it as well, and yeah, communications, emergency supplies, and all this kind of stuff. And they're basically sort of using it to sort of rescue stricken submarines. So if there is a submarine in trouble, they can then sort of zip down to it and get the submariners sort of out safely. But also sort of wrecked fishing ships and sort of aircraft in the waters. They're becoming sort of more and more common than submarine accidents because there are a few more ships than submarines. Sort of recovering sort of remains from that is going to be one of its sort of primary focuses. But yeah, they're also planned. That's its like primary focus in like sort of safety, underwater safety. But yeah, they're also going to use it to sort of survey shipwrecks and yeah, basically use it to like protect it from like underwater poachers, basically, so that there's like definitive like evidence of like what's down there, sort of where it is, and yeah, just to really protect from just protect underwater treasure, so that people can't just go, oh well, no, I've always had this.
You mean
Spanish
protect them from
galleon.
your mates,
Yeah.
your cronies, mate?
I got an email from Gerard, our previous boss, and he was just kind of like, "Oh, do you recognise anything?" And it was it was just this picture of this guy, and it's like diver arrested for with however much so like salvage, and yeah, he just grabbed all this stuff and then took it down to the local scrapyard and sort of cashed it in. It's just like, oh, are you kidding? Just no, look, don't touch. Don't bring anything back. The other guy, when the police raided his house, he literally had this Spanish galleon cannon in like this huge tank of like desal or whatever you call it, and they were like, oh well, that's pretty good evidence. He'd already sold one to some American collector for however many millions of dollars or something, and he was just preparing this other one, and he was just like, oh, I thought it was in international waters or something, and they're like, no mate, jail. And in other news, there's a new underwater wasp that inserts its parasitic larvae into unsuspecting prey, and it's been affectionately named the Godzilla wasp. Okay, so this thing sort of has been discovered in Japanese waters, and yeah, it's the first example of a wasp species that deliberately dives underwater, and it does it to basically attack caterpillars from below, catching them off guard, and then yeah, it like injects them with its like eggs or something, and then they eat it from the inside out. So it's like, oh, nature, are you kidding? So I mean, touch wood, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for our scuba divers, but still, it is. Don't
go diving in Japan, because they're going to go and attack you and put.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen it exactly where it is, because I presume it's fresh water. But it's been given the scientific name of Microgaster Godzilla. So of course they're calling it the Godzilla wasp, which is that's a pretty cool name. But yeah, it looks for aquatic caterpillars which live on water and hide inside algae and other plants, and yeah, it just attacks it from underneath like some horrific jaws with wings. Yeah, and then it gets like eaten from the inside out.
Wasps suck. We need to kill all the wasps and then have more bees, because bees are lovely.
Yeah, I don't mind a good bumblebee.
Bumblebees are good.
Yeah,
although there will be people in the comments going, no, you need wasps as well, because they are a part of the chain.
They are a part of the circle of life, and they do kill a lot of sort of pests. But
they suck.
Yeah, this one, it dives underwater and kills things from underneath. But to finish off the news on a slightly sort of more pleasant tone, without things bursting out of your chest. So Saudi Arabia has set up a centre for underwater cultural heritage in the Red Sea. So so this is a it's kind of a planned marine centre to basically preserve underwater cultural heritage sort of in the Red Sea and the sort of Arabian Gulf in general, because there's never really been a unified kind of response, and there are a few bad sort of charters out there, like Thistlegorm. Thistlegorm sort of has lost sort of parts of it over the years, just where boats have moored up onto the actual shipwreck, and oh dear, did we rip that off? Oh, bad us.
And so you and your mates go diving there and pinch stuff.
Yeah. So no, less intentionally, more just they thought it was a good anchor point, but really it's a really old shipwreck, and it's being pulled apart. So So key objectives of the establishment of the world-class centre to preserve underwater cultural heritage in the Red Sea is to sort of develop underwater cultural heritage according to sort of global best practices, so making sure everyone's doing everything responsibly, encourage scientific research to uncover underwater cultural heritage sites in the Red Sea and the Arabian Gulf, because there's bound to be more down there. It's just we found like particularly good diving spots, but obviously there are more out there. Raise awareness on underwater cultural heritage and its legacy as an imperative pillar of human heritage, because there's a lot of history down there, which is always interesting. Normally during the dive briefing, a lot of dive guides, they'll sort of go into the history of each of the shipwrecks, which is quite interesting, and like how certain dive sites got their names. So all this kind of stuff is all very interesting, and this is what they're trying to sort of build upon and effectively like become this cultural hub of things underwater, and they're looking to sort of bring this into fruition and make this a really sort of big thing, and hopefully that will get all of the sort of tourism back into the Red Sea, because it's been pretty quiet as of recent. And actually, it's a really, really, really good place to go scuba diving. So they just kind of want to get people back in, and it's kind of this is the first thing of its kind of the in the industry. I
mean, let's be honest. Like, it's really good that they obviously want to preserve and they want to educate and stuff like that. But tourism's the fund of it.
Yeah.
If that wasn't on the decline, or if they could do more research and find more dive sites, more money for the country, which is perfect. Like I said, but you find a site and you look after it, or the people that charter there look after it. It's a win-win, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I know a dive guide who sort of used to be out in the Red Sea, and he put a lot of time and effort into sort of going over to these like sort of head officials, basically saying that you're going to get so much more money from sort of attracting tourists to come like dive with the sort of sharks and whatnot, instead of the the local fishermen and whatnot. So sort of don't just protect this area, and he got a lot of sort of ministers or whatever they're called out there to basically come onto his side and go, oh, actually, you know what, we're actually making a lot more money from tourism than we are from sort of whatever we're doing right now. So we should sort of protect these areas and sort of let the scuba divers in, because that's where the money is. So it's just another arm of that, sort of encouraging to get people scuba diving and get just tourists and sort of snorkelers out there.
Yeah, win-win, mate. Get to protect reefs, get to protect these things underwater, planes and wrecks, potentially use the money to find more that we can dive, as well as bring in tourism in. So, win-win.
Yes. And that's it for the news. Now, normally we'd go into sort of the Q&A, but as we mentioned last week, it's all kind of changing. So it's just sort of news and updates Monday through Thursday. But we are still answering your questions. We're just doing it in one big sort of Friday Q&A. So if you do have any questions, comments, queries, corrections, anything, then let us know down in the comments below. And so the best questions will be put into a Friday show. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe wherever you're sort of watching this, if it's just on a sort of podcast, or whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, you name it, we're sort of putting Daily Deco sort of everywhere. So do all that kind of stuff. And if you do have a question, we'll try and answer it down in the comments below, but then we'll elaborate on it on the Friday show, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.
Stay classy, scuba divers.
I like that old sign off.
The classic, mate, the classic.